it's like sometimes you feel like you're just swimming upstream and you're fighting it and you just keep going through the motions and you can't seem to steer too well because water's coming at you so fast, and sometimes you just get beat down so bad and you're wondering, why does it seem so easy for others? And we can't accept in our brain for some reason that if we turn around and go with the flow, it's much easier to steer. And that's what it feels like when you finally start coming from a place of authenticity in your heart. Because that's not something you can teach, and that's not something that you can get from somebody else. So the real question is, do you have the courage to actually be yourself? Because for me, I spent a long time, as I hung up the phone, my broker says, Chris, the last 2 commissions, those 2 deals just fell through. Your $10,000 that you were gonna have, gone. I'm sorry. I'm sitting in my sister's apartment, just moved down to Colorado to a new state, relocating, starting over, thought I was gonna have all this money to do this, and start my business and invest in the tools and buy traffic and do all these things. Now I had $200 to my name. No money coming in. That was it. Had to figure it out. And a lot of you who have been down this road, who are true entrepreneurs, you know what that's like. And you know at that moment you ask yourself a question: am I resourceful enough to figure it out? It's that whole thing that Justin and Dee were talking about, how cause and effect. And in that moment you're like, oh, that's not my fault, and I'm not gonna take responsibility for it, and now I'm the victim. Or you say, you know what? In this moment right now, I have an opportunity to make a difference in the way that I think and the decisions that I make. And I may not know right now what I'm gonna do, but I know this: I will figure it out. You start to believe in yourself, do you not? You all standing here in the chairs, you know that. You know what it's like. You've been there. And when you have that moment, it's your test. So if you've had that moment, which a lot of you have, I know you have. You know why? Because you're here. You are the ones that made the decision to keep moving forward. When going upstream, you've been beat down. And when I got off that phone, realizing I had nothing and had to figure it out, I got scared. But I also put every waking moment into what I could, figuring out this business, doing stuff I did not understand to make it happen, to make it work, to be able to even eat at first. I had to get resourceful. You don't always know where it's coming from. Security is not a luxury that an entrepreneur gets to enjoy all the time. As a matter of fact, we loathe it. We want the freedom, don't we? Freedom. And so within that comes risk. And the thing that I wasn't yet getting is that I was learning strategies, I was working, I was just barely scraping by, trying to take care of my sister and my niece and nephew, who were just young, 7 and 9 at the time. And they looked at me and they're like, why are you so upset? And I couldn't even tell them. How do you tell a child, like, it's not gonna be okay? I don't know, I don't have a clue right now. You don't tell them that. So why are you so hard on yourself about it and tell yourself that? So I kept on working and going through the motions, and I could not really get this. I learned SEO, I learned how to rank stuff on the search engines, thought I was gonna be doing great. Sure, I did that. I got traffic to my sites, I got traffic to my blog, the thing that Dave taught. And I wasn't converting and nobody was joining me. And I didn't know why. I'm sitting on a curb at the San Diego event, and this is why you need to get to events. I'm sitting on the curb, and I'm looking up at the stars, and I see this the brightest star in the sky. And I'm thinking, why can't I be that? I want to shine like that star. I want that. I've been doing everything I've been told to do. I've been going through the motions every day. And I thought I had more faith and was doing it longer. It was 8 months before I made my first $15. A lot of people are upset and frustrated because they don't make it in the first 72 hours. I'm sorry if I sound harsh, but marketers tend to make this sound simple and easy, so you join. How many of you just got a light bulb going, oh? And we don't do it as a bait and switch because we know we need to meet you where you're at. Isn't it funny? I was talking to one of my mentors, and she said to me, isn't it funny that in an industry that you have what you're really doing for people is transforming their lives and allowing them to think and operate differently that allows a level of happiness and freedom that most people could never even dream of or believe is real. And yet you have to say and bring them in with a different message, because if you tell them exactly what they're going to learn first and what they're going to go through, they won't take that journey. Isn't it funny? So we have to get you with the money. But you get that too. So back to the story, I'm sitting there and I finally made the intention. I'm like, this isn't working for me. Why? And people around me probably thought I was freaking crazy, because I'm just like, I don't know what it is, but I want to know. I don't care anymore. I'm not afraid anymore. Whatever it is, I need my breakthrough. I need it now. I need to know what it is. I'm willing to do whatever. I've been willing to do whatever, but I need this. And I'm sure there were a few people around that were just looking at me like, and I just got up and walked back in. It was a Friday night at the San Diego event in 2012. And throughout the event, there was a certain thing that happened. I'm in one of the front rows because I set the intention to be in the front row. Hint, for those of you, when we had seats in the front row, I got up early, made sure I got here to get in the front row. And I ran. I'm not supposed to, but I did. And Rob is walking us through an exercise on stage, and he's like, I want you to tell, and I want you all to do this with me, okay? I want you to think of a goal that you think is a little bit out of reach for you right now. I want you to think about that goal. It may be a money amount in a certain amount of time, but be specific. It may be your ultimate benefit. Maybe you want to buy that new house. Whatever it is, make sure it's something you feel is just a little out of reach, that given your current resources, you wouldn't do it. And now I want you to challenge it. And now I want you to say to yourself, I'm going to do this, and state your intention. Now, what happened to me when I did that is that I had this memory, because what's going to happen is, as you say that, you're going to feel in your body, you're going to feel something somewhere. Some of you are going to feel it in your chest, some of you in your solar plexus, some in your stomach, some in your legs, some in your toes, some in your ears burning, whatever. You're going to feel something. Your body's responding to you, telling you, hey, we need to keep you safe. We can't allow that right now. And you're going to negotiate and ask your body to give you a memory and communicate with your brain and show you what happened to you that made you think this goal wasn't possible. And maybe you didn't have the experience I had, but I closed my eyes and I felt this pit in my stomach. I felt sick to my stomach. And I was like, what the heck is this? And I just closed my eyes, and all of a sudden I'm transported back to 4 years old. So all of a sudden I see myself in my mother's daycare. I'm surrounded by 4 or 5 other boys that are a year to 2 to 3 years older than me. And I'm sitting there saying, I'm gonna be a millionaire. I'm gonna make $1 million. Even before I'm 18, I'm gonna do it. And I hear them say, are you crazy? What's wrong with you? Are you nuts? Your parents aren't rich. Do you know that rich people are mean? Do you know that rich people are dishonest? Why do you want to be like that? Hearing this from 5 and 6-year-old boys. I'm like, what do you mean? This is a good thing. What other things are you kidding? Don't you want to be a millionaire? And they're like, no, I don't want to be a millionaire. Why would you want that? That's way too much money. No one deserves that. You'll lose it anyway. That's too much money for one person. And I'm like, in that moment I saw, and I formed a belief that if I was going to be myself and do what I wanted to do and speak my truth and aspire to what I wanted, people weren't going to accept it. And that I was going to be ridiculed. And so I shrunk. And I started to act like a chameleon because I knew that if I started to talk like I really wanted to, like a lot of you have this feeling in your hearts and in your minds, the things you want to say and the things you want to do, and you're afraid to say them. How many of you am I speaking to right now? Half the room. The other half just didn't, raise their hands. Thank you. So I see this, and I'm like, what the heck is this? And I come out of that little trance, Rob's still on stage, and he's like, now you're just gonna be with this, and he walked us through a few exercises on just totally eradicating that belief, some NLP thing that I don't know, so I'm sorry, right? Dave starts talking about NLP, and I'm like, all right, I think, and Justin and Dee, you know how powerful it is for personal transformation. And so I decided, well, I'm gonna just play small. That was my subconscious limiting belief. And throughout the weekend, Rob says to me, as we're sitting around at dinner, you're playing so small, it makes me sick to my stomach. Justin was at that table. Justin and T were both at that table. Do you remember hearing Rob say that? Wasn't that crazy? 15 people at a table. They all heard it. And I'm like, he's sitting next to me. He's like, he had a few drinks and he kind of like rose up like he was a possessed person. He was like, dude, you're playing so small. It makes me sick to my stomach. I'm looking at this, and Justin, like you were like literally like across from me and one over, and I kind of look at you, and you're kind of like, and everyone in there's silence, and I'm like, fucking asshole, what the hell is that? And so, fast forward, the whole event, there was a few more moments like that where people would come up and be like, you got all this potential. I can't wait to see what you're gonna do with it. Subtle. And some people like, when the heck are you gonna do this thing? You know what you're doing. Like, what's wrong? Dude, you can't wait to see you on stage. And I'm seeing my friends on the stage, and I'm like, why can't that be me? Sunday night, I'm at a friend's house about a block away from the conference center, and she has been with me most of the weekend watching all of this. She came to the event. She lives a block away. She's a close friend, and so she's been with me most of the weekend. And one of the funny things is, because I had done some of the inner circle interviews, a lot of people had known me at that point, although I hadn't developed a lot of success. And so a lot of people are coming up to me and talking to me and asking me questions, saying, hey, I heard you in the inner circle interviews, it's awesome, I love it, I got questions for you. And so I'm sitting here like talking with people, and I notice she walks away every time. Make a mental note. So I'm sitting there, and in her driveway, Sunday night, beautiful night again, stars out. Just kind of taking in the whole weekend. It's a weird weekend. Little moments like that. And I said, I noticed that you walked away. like every time I started to talk to someone. Now, in my ego, I thought she could learn something. That was one of those where I had to learn to build a bridge and get over myself, right? And so I said that to her, and she's like, no, it wasn't a coincidence. No. It made me sick to my stomach. And I'm like, there's that thing again. Sick to my stomach. What the heck? Why? And so I said, I gotta ask. I've been hearing this all weekend. Why? What's so wrong with me? And she's like, Chris, when you're not trying to be macho or show off, I know the true you. You've shown that to me in moments. And what you were being out there to everyone else was not you. And you weren't being real with yourself. And because you couldn't be real with yourself, your gifts and the things and your unique message couldn't come out. You couldn't reach them the way they needed to be reached. You dishonored yourself and them. Now, she says this, and remember, I set the intention that I don't care what it is, I want to know what my breakthrough is. Now, at that moment, I was wondering if I really meant that. Because I said, maybe you're right. And all of a sudden, I saw my whole life flash before my eyes. Crazy. And I truly believe this was set from an intention that my mind finally said, okay, here you go. And I saw, just like people talk about near-death experiences, car accidents, things like that, and they like see everything flash before their eyes. That happened, but I'm sitting there, right? Boring story. I wish it was, a little more exciting. But I saw it all, and I realized that this belief had killed every opportunity for growth in my life. That one thing stopped me in so many ways from becoming the person I was always born to be and speaking the message I was always meant to speak and doing the things and making the differences in this world that I knew I was here to do. And that taking that $1 million I was going to make and doing good things with it and being a good steward of it. And I realized at that moment I had been living a lie most of my life and too afraid to come out of my shell and get on a blog or get on a video and honestly speak my heart and my truth and not worry about what people thought. You get me? Thank you. I broke. I saw it all right there and I cried and I cried and I cried. And I realized that part of me had just died. No more will I ever shrink for anybody, and neither should any of you. I have a little more for you. Thank you so much. But there's more. I have a little more for you because here's how this turned out. You need to know because it's important. I started blogging and making videos every day. I started my team. Because before there was just a few out there and they were like, what do we do? And I'm like, no, here's who we are now. Here's my vision, I'm not afraid to speak it. Here's what I want for myself, and more importantly, here's what I want for others. Because I looked back up at that star that night And you see, when you get past the BS in your mind, you see things differently. Perception is projection, right? And then I saw that star and I realized the real purpose of it. Some of you know what I'm about to say. I realized that the purpose of that star, and this is for me, this was my perspective of it, and it serves me. That star was there to illuminate every other star in the sky, to shine light on everyone else, on everybody else in that sky. It wasn't about me. And you see, in that moment, the part of me that wanted it to be about me, that wanted to be the great shining star, that wanted to be the superstar, I let it go. And when I started to make it about my purpose and my vision, I realized all I was here to do was to set people free. Set people free, remind them of who they really are, and inspire them to be the change they wish to see in the world. And when that happened, I realized that when I spoke, people felt it. You can have all the strategies and copywriting and how to know how to say the right words, and I'm going to reveal to you these power words, right? You can know all that shit. But if you ain't coming from here, yeah, they may join a system, but they ain't joining you. Do you get that? Here. They felt and knew that my intentions were not selfish, that my intentions were to add value to everybody and lift everybody else up. And they wanted to be a part of that. I hadn't even created barely any result yet. And I started telling my story, this story, and talking about where I was going. I didn't see much results for about 90 days, blogging every day. And then I look at my back office, and these results are not typical, but it was a sign from the universe or God or whoever that was confirmation, because I tallied up the commissions, $16,075. I've never looked back. And what I'm telling you, and why I'm here, is that so many people are so afraid to speak their truth for fear of ridicule. And you see, an entrepreneur can't afford that luxury. You see, an entrepreneur, the whole meaning of the word, decades ago was like, an entrepreneur was like, oh, you're still figuring it out. And now it's like popular. But if you're going to walk this path, know that there is going to be risk, and you cannot let anything stop you. You have to be bulletproof and completely resolute in where you are and not waver from it. Ever. Are you hearing me? Okay. So, I started telling my story. Funniest thing ever was that even Dave brought me on stage and said, you're making a lot of money now. What is it? And I'm like, at the time I honestly really didn't know, because I wasn't doing anything differently. But what I was saying, the way I was coming through, people started to resonate with it. I had people come up to me and be like, you know what? I resonate with your story. I feel where you're coming from, man. That's why I'm here. That's why I joined. Because when I was on stage, I didn't know. And he was like, so you're not making a lot of money for a long time formula, and now making a lot of money formula is blogging every day and posting pictures on Facebook. I was like, yep. I had no idea. I, I was like, well, I'm telling a story too, you know? Normally it's like the same one. I keep on telling it. Just keep on telling it. Keep speaking my truth. Keep being real. And that's what people want. People are craving that, especially where we're online and other places and it's so virtual and digital. That's what it's about. So I honor Silvio for talking yesterday about keeping it real. And I appreciate that because that's the thing we need to get back to and stop making it about the funnel or stop making it about the other things outside of yourself that is the effect, just like Justin and Dee talked about. Start becoming the cause. So I'll leave you with this. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Who am I to be brave, wise, talented, brilliant, and great? Who are you not to be? You are a child of God. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fears, our presence automatically liberates others. Go forth and be the change. Thank you, guys.